Today, we are reacting to the Battle Face-Off in-depth analysis of Rodan versus Camazotz. And honestly, this is a 30-minute video, so we're jumping straight into it. It is by Goji Center. Big shout out to him. And who do you got? Let me know in the comments. Rodan
today
or Camazotz?
The arena of death.
I'm
We'll
excited. Hold on, let me turn this down a little bit.
Flying titans engage in a bloody battle
I'm hyped.
that will determine who is the ruler of the skies. On one end, a titan with a literal thirst for
I'm gonna be
blood.
real with you.
The force of darkness.
I don't know a
made
ton about
flesh.
Camazotz.
A monster armed with hellish weapons destined
I don't
to
know a ton
inflict
about. I know a
nothing
little.
else but pain. Titanus Camazotz.
But not a lot. So I'm gonna go with Rodan.
The angriest bird of all time.
Because we know
the
about
monster
Rodan.
known for its supersonic
The volcanic
speeds,
bird.
wild abilities, and an unpredictable nature. Titanus Rodan.
And I just like Rodan, bro.
Today in the analysis
Who do you got? Let me know in the
platform, we will
comments.
analyze all battle attributes one by one.
Are you
laying
Team
bare
Rodan
all
or
their
Team
strengths,
Cam?
weaknesses, weapons, compiling all this data
Dan
in
or
a real
Cam?
simulator that will reveal which of these titans will live and who deserves to die.
Oh, so they
This
actually
is
did like a
fire
battle
versus
animation.
darkness. Predator versus Predator. Rodan versus Titanus Camazotz.
Ooh, this is sick. Hey, big shout out to
generate
Goji
an
Center, man.
accurate battle
This is
simulation,
sick.
We first must take into account both of
I'm
these
assuming the
titans'
actual
corporal
battle
attributes and,
is
more
towards the end.
importantly,
So stick around
size.
with me.
By looking at a 3D scan of both of these titans, we see that they differ.
And if you haven't, hit
greatly
that
in
subscribe
terms of
button.
Wingspan. Starting with Rodan, we find that most of his corporal mass is found on its wings, making up a wingspan that covers a whopping 871 feet.
Dang,
Despite
my boy's
this,
got
this
that
animal's
wingspan.
standing height is rather short, only standing at 154 feet while slouched.
Short?
Camazotz, on the other hand, may have a slight advantage
just called me
in terms
mini.
of height, but is dwarfed by Rodan in terms of wingspan.
Massively.
However, Camazotz does seem to have a greater amount of body mass if we ignore the wings. This will be important to account for whenever these titans are in close
They went super
combat.
in-depth. I
in
like
this
this.
face-off, Goji Center collaborated with Beastopia, lending us their massive Titan viewing facility so we can have a close look at these
Beastopia,
titans.
okay.
Now that we are acquainted with their physical proportions, let us now enter the analysis platform and compare their attributes.
Oh, yeah, I'm hyped.
Durability.
Durability, that's our
How much
first
damage can
attribute
these
here.
Titans sustain, and how well are their bodies built to withstand punishment? Something important to note about Rodan is that it is of biovolcanic nature, meaning that its biology has many common denominators with volcanic attributes.
He's a literal flying
the best
volcano.
example of this being its outer layer
I mean,
of
quite
armor,
literally.
which is made up of hardened magma, a result of its many years in hibernation inside volcanoes.
That's sick already. My
This
boy's got
thick layer of
basically
rock
a
is
shield.
seen to be quite resistant to shock and blast weapons such as high-caliber projectiles, missiles, and almost immune to superheated weaponry. Also, this
Makes
creature
sense.
seems to be able to recover quite well from deep puncture wounds. After he was impaled by Mothra, for example, Rodan was able to fly well once again, enough for him to be confident enough to even challenge Godzilla afterwards. But perhaps the best example of how this animal can withstand other types of damage was the fact that even
I felt
after
like that fight
Godzilla's
between
superheated
Rodan and
thermonuclear
Mothra was a
pulse
little-
was emitted, Rodan, who was still
How do
somewhere
you say?
around here, still survived.
Plot armor
Now,
from
granted, he
Mothra?
was a lot further from the blast
Just a
than
little bit.
Ghidorah, but he still
A lot of
remained
it.
unscathed. Camazotz, on the other hand, also possesses armor as well, except it's composed differently.
See, this is
From
where
what
we come in,
can
'cause
see
I don't
here,
know a
our
lot
best
about
guess is that
Camazotz.
this plate armor
I know
must
his
have been
wings kinda look
composed
like
of some
Swiss cheese.
chitinous or keratin-like material. Lightweight enough for Camazotz to fly, but resistant enough to withstand heavy blows from titans such as Kong. Furthermore, this animal also
How
has
is he
thick
flying with
layers of
holes in
fur
his wings?
key areas on its back and around the neck, almost similar to a lion's mane, which in many cases serves as a buffer to guard its neck against attacks. Although its body is resistant to heavy blows, its wings are a different story. There is a clear
here we go.
visual
Learning
indication
about the
that
wings.
suggests that Camazotz's wings are prone to tearing. These leathery wings,
They're
for
what?
instance, have already sustained damage before, remained
Well,
functional,
that's why they're-
but are
okay.
not too far away from being too damaged to be used for flight.
I thought it
If
said
these,
wind
for whatever
damage. I was about to
reason, are
say,
damaged
what?
Further, too much air will pass through these gaps, making flight a lot more difficult.
Exactly.
Especially since this animal's proportions already make it difficult for this animal to sustain flight. Both
So he's
animals'
gonna be
body
not
armor
very
is
fast.
strong,
Rodan's
but
definitely
since
gonna be
air
faster.
and leather are more prone to catching on fire, and taking into account Rodan's biovolcanic nature, Rodan takes an edge when it comes to
My boy takes
overall
round one.
corporal durability. Overall speed. It is only natural to
I mean,
automatically assume
I
that
would
two
say
airborne
Rodan's gonna be
creatures
faster.
are already very fast when it comes to speed. But in this battle, getting from point A to point B faster than your opponent can potentially be vital.
Like, there's no way
Perhaps
he
the
has
most
holes in his
widely known
wings and is
attribute of
faster than
Titanus
Rodan.
is
Let's
its
be real.
ability to fly at supersonic speeds, a lot faster than the speed of sound. This
And because of
velocity
that
goes
fact
as
right
far
there.
as triggering a phenomenon known as a cyclonic drift stream. As Rodan makes its way past a certain area, the air currents around him are manipulated greatly by his gigantic mass breaking through the air.
That's crazy.
The result being a devastating shockwave that is
Oh
caused
my-
while he's traveling at top speed. This
That is
would cause
wild.
heavy turbulence and destruction to any landform or space around him.
And all
Not
he's
only
doing is
making his
flying, you
flying
know?
speed a useful ability, but also a potential weapon. By looking at the opponent's build, there are many clues that give us a good idea as to how fast this animal can fly. And it's unfortunately not optimal in comparison to Rodan.
I didn't think
Why?
so.
The evidence can be found on its wings. Two things. Because of the
The
rough
holes?
leathery texture on its wings, holes, and spikes, this will create a detrimental effect known as drag.
Yeah,
which
he
inhibits
looks cool,
this
but it's
animal
not
from
good
reaching
for
supersonic
speed.
speeds, much less anything close to Rodan.
Maybe it can do some
In
more
addition
damage
to
than
that, this
Rodan as far
animal's
as the
fur
wings.
and overall shape would also cause this animal to slow down. In contrast to Rodan's build, which easily
Rodan's
cuts through the air,
aerodynamic.
allowing him to travel much faster. Camazotz, however, is a confident navigator through the air given its echolocation, but
Watch him
flight
jet.
alone won't win you this fight. In terms of overall speed, one Titan holds a clear
It's
edge
2 to
thanks
0.
its more appropriate build, and that is Titanus Rodan.
Who's Team Rodan out there? Let me know in the
Maneuverability.
comments. Team
Moving
Rodan,
fast
baby.
is one thing,
That's
but moving
2-0.
effectively and with purpose may prove even more important. This attribute basically determines how well a creature moves its body or how agile it is during combat.
I don't think Camazotz
Rodan
is gonna
has
have a
one
very good
maneuver
time
in
here.
particular that we'd like to focus
He's already
on.
losing by
the
2.
barrel roll.
The barrel
This
roll.
is usually done in midair, rotating its body 360
Rodan's got that move
degrees
in his bag,
repeatedly while
for
leveraging
sure.
its massive wingspan to create a wide kill zone. Anything impacting these superheated hardened wings would get hit violently, turning this maneuver into yet another weapon. Rodan has also been seen to be able to easily move itself in all 3 axes, up, down, sideways, backwards, without compromising its balance. Moving in this fashion
I think
while being
Rodan
a massive
actually should have
Titan will most
demolished
definitely
Mothra,
prove
in
helpful
my
in
opinion.
difficult terrain. More on this
If it wasn't
later.
like plot
We've only
armor-ish.
seen Camazotz in action in a graphic novel, so determining its agility will be quite difficult, making us resort to different clues. 2 to be exact. The developers of this monster mentioned that this creature is a bat titan, meaning that they share many attributes with their real-life counterparts, one being their shortened
Bats are
wings.
pretty quick, though.
Now, this may look like a disadvantage, and it is in terms of speed, but having shorter and wider wings allows the
They also
creature
don't
to
have
stop
holes in
quickly
their wings,
midair
though.
and make quick turns. Bats don't really have tails, but this one does. Tails serve as a directional aid on most ground animals. Camazotz would use this long tail to further help it maneuver, but not only that, this tail can also be used as a weapon.
The tail looks like
But
an
to use it
alligator's.
effectively, Camazotz must first position its body
A
accurately
little.
in order
Not
to
really.
use it. This, in turn, tells us that this Titan knows how to move around, make quick turns, and position himself
wonder who
accurately
snapped off
in
one of his
order
horns.
to deploy its weapons.
Was it called?
Both Titans in this case leverage their distinct maneuverability to inflict damage. For this reason, both Rodan and Camazotz will stand equal when
Okay,
it
so
comes
it's
to this
3 to 1
attribute.
right now.
Moving around
We'll
better
take it
than your
equal.
opponent is good for combat only if terrain benefits you. Now is an appropriate time to figure out where exactly this battle is most likely to take place.
Where is it going to take
Terrain
place?
adaptability. As our battle stats begin to take form in our analysis platform,
I would say
we need
Rodan
to start
still
figuring out where
gets
this
this-
fight has a
I
higher
don't know.
chance of happening and who will have the edge. Something to note about Camazotz is
If it's
that
at a
this
volcano,
is a
Rodan
Titan
has the
that
edge.
absolutely hates the sun, meaning that Rodan will most likely not run into Camazotz under very well-lit conditions. Rodan does not seem
Oh
to be
my!
bothered by too much light or too much
That was
darkness,
terrifying.
but since Camazotz really won't be found unless he's in darkness or dim environments, this restricts the battleground to
Could
some
you
specific
imagine?
areas.
Oh my
A
gosh.
plausible battleground for these two to encounter each other on would potentially be in one of the open cavernous pockets leading to the hollow earth. It is known that both Titanus Camazotz and Rodan are no strangers to these sorts of settings. Rodan being a titan that is accustomed to crawling through volcanic vents, and Camazotz being a titan that dwells in large cavernous locations leading to the Hollow Earth.
I'll give Camazotz the scary look factor. He's pretty terrifying.
So, in our battle simulation, Rodan will likely run into Camazotz while traveling through old volcanic vents, leading to a more ample air pocket near the center of the Earth. But the main question, which of these titans will have the edge in this specific
Camazotz is going to thrive in the dark.
Although Rodan and Camazotz both stood equal in maneuverability, we must also again mention that Camazotz relies heavily on an ability known as echolocation.
Just like
this
the bats,
can emit pulses to the surrounding area, which then bounce back and compile into a three-dimensional visible space in his brain.
So in close quarters, Camazotz probably going to have the advantage, especially if it's dark.
Also, it is no coincidence that this guy has shorter wings. Having a smaller wingspan,
it's a big open area, and it's daytime. Rodan's taking
spaces, which is useful since these wings are considerably less durable than Rodan and will do a better job at avoiding obstacles that could further damage its wings. Because these two titans will have a higher chance of encountering each other in this location, and because Camazotz is well adapted for this sort of terrain, Titanus Camazotz will now snatch a critical edge.
I can see that.
To battle terrain.
So we'll give Camazotz 1. I mean, no, he has 2 right now. It's 3-2.
Stay in this fight for a longer time, and who would be most likely to tire quickly. Beginning with Titanus Rodan, in King of the Monsters, we were able to take note of the fact that Rodan was pretty much airborne throughout the majority of the film.
Yeah, so I don't think he's getting tired
while he
fast.
was on screen. Beginning from when he took off from the volcano, and only down while he was either defeated or bowing to another kaiju. Within a short span of time, Rodan took off from Isla Damara straight to Washington, D.C., where he and Ghidorah took on the U.S. military. After Madison Russell activated the Orca in Boston, Ghidorah let Rodan hold it down while he left and took care of the Orca situation. Here he encountered Godzilla and Mothra. Rodan would again have to rejoin his Alpha in a very short amount of time and have enough stamina to fight again. After being bested and critically injured, he still apparently had the energy to risk yet another fight against Godzilla.
I don't know about it.
These feats aren't the only evidence
I like Mothra, don't get me wrong, but Rodan,
superb stamina. Birds and
Rodan,
pterosaur anatomy, which Rodan shared, also work in Rodan's favor. In the real world, both pterosaurs and birds
Where'd that
have
bald
the most
eagle come from?
body types to aid them in flight, but also keep themselves airborne. Both had hollow bones and air chambers in their bodies to make them lightweight and help cool down their powerful chest muscles.
Don't you wish you could fly, bro?
Rodan's fast
Look at how free they look.
Boston after Mothra's stinger wound stands as a testament to his fast healing ability. This would in turn continuously heal his muscles during strenuous activity, allowing him to stay in the fight longer. Camazotz, as discussed already, shares many similarities with bats. In the real world, these animals are known more for their agile abilities, but not so much as being long-distance flyers. Their heavier skeleton
so
and
what you're
less
saying
refined internal
is
anatomy
Rodan's taking this once again, and it's going to be 4-2.
But another noteworthy factor is the condition of Camazotz's wings.
He's too big, and his wings are messed up,
allowing air to come through and forcing an already heavy titan to flap his wings more frequently and with greater force to keep him airborne.
Exactly. A boy's already going to be struggling.
Rodan, who doesn't face this problem. In this scenario, Rodan will be the titan who covers more ground.
That's right.
And Camazotz would likely try to conserve his energy, using
4-2
of speed to his advantage.
Stamina.
For this category,
87% we like it. 4-2 Rodan.
Intelligence. Here's where things get a little more interesting.
I'm giving it to Rodan.
Better understand
Rodan's kind of smart,
these
bro.
creatures, we'll have to study some of
and
their
I'm
real-life
biased.
counterparts or those used in reference with
because I don't know about Camazotz.
Beginning with Rodan, we know that he's a shrewd titan with a tendency to be a little reckless. However, we must mention that this guy shares many characteristics with birds of prey. In the real world, these are ranked among the most intelligent creatures in the world, problem solvers, and with the cognitive ability to learn and put certain pieces of evidence together.
Must you say more?
Can it handle keeping his mental composure? Well, unfortunately, this guy has made it difficult for us to say he can. In the past, we have witnessed Rodan make rather dumb or rash decisions, such as putting himself at risk in exchange for an opportunity to attack. In 2019, we witnessed Rodan recklessly face Ghidorah, resorting to a head-on attack against a considerably much larger titan.
I mean, that's true.
Another example was when he tried to take out Mothra's head in an attempt to humiliate the female alpha and missed repeatedly instead of hitting the larger chest area.
Yeah, see? That's what I'm saying. Plot armor, though, because he could have done that. You know what I'm saying?
Avoidable situations. Had it not been for its durability, this animal would have potentially been critically injured or even killed for its recklessness. To his merit,
He also could have
however,
died
this
against
can also
King
be
Ghidorah, though,
interpreted
so I
as
get it.
fearlessness. Even against larger odds, Rodan wouldn't
He is kinda
hesitate to
fearless.
attack, making this creature an intimidating foe. But is it enough to intimidate this thing? Apart from being scary,
Yeah, I don't
looking,
think
this
that thing's
animal
being
proves to be a
intimidated, to be
rather
real.
Intelligent foe, not just on combat level, but also strategic. Let us remind you that
Is he
this
smart?
guy would also command these smaller creatures to do his bidding, using them as a distraction or deterrent against smaller jets so that he may focus on the main threat.
I mean, that's
In the
kinda
real
smart.
world, bats are said to be almost as intelligent as dolphins, can recognize familiar faces, and come up with unique strategies to
Really?
effectively catch prey and have very good memory. Similarly,
Okay, see, I
Camazotz
didn't
was
know all
seen
that.
to successfully best Kong by disabling his limbs during combat, which
And I
were
haven't
his
read this
strongest
comic.
weapons. And finding out that throwing this guy to the ground repeatedly would further weaken him at a faster rate. Later on in this episode, you'll find out that his large array of weapons will require a very smart brain to multitask and use these all at once. Both of these are very
I'm ready to see
smart
the fight,
creatures
bro.
that
I'm
know how
excited
to
for
use
that.
their weapons
We
to
should be
maximum
close.
effectiveness. But Rodan's inability to think critically lowers the levels at which we perceive his overall intelligence, resulting in a very tight difference and a close
Dang,
match
so it's
for
4-3.
Camazotz. Auxiliary weaponry. Apart from this Titan's beak,
And
which we will
Camazotz is
discuss
coming
in the
back a little
next
bit.
section, Titanus Rodan possesses a very robust set of talons armed with
Rodan's gonna win this one, I feel like.
3 forward-facing and an opposable claw securing a strong
Maybe
grip.
not, though. Maybe
Real-world
Camazotz has
birds
more
of prey
weapons.
rely on these
'Cause
to
I
not
don't know
only
about
hold on to prey, but to
I just
pierce
noticed there's a
certain
squirrel
muscle
down
groups
there.
that allow
Dang.
the prey to fight back. But one thing to
R.I.P.
take
to
note
my
of
boy.
is that these weapons become a lot more
Watch your
lethal
jet,
if
watch
they are
your jet.
mounted on a creature that can fly at supersonic speeds. Meaning that all of this force would then be projected onto these small tips, making this impact a lot more lethal. In addition to these talons, we see that Rodan
Talons
is
are
also
pretty
equipped
lethal,
with
bro.
claws on his wings. These are mostly used for grappling against an opponent in midair, making it easier for this Titan to accommodate itself to then proceed using
Hey, he
its
was
beak.
fighting Ghidorah
On
for a
the
little
other hand,
second
we
there,
see
you
that
know?
Camazotz is equipped with similar weaponry. Now, at first glance, it is obvious that attacking Camazotz's spiked
Who put
body would be
Camazotz
a
in that
daunting
box, by the way?
task,
That's what I
and
wanna
with
know.
good reason,
How'd
given
this
that
man get in
Titan's
there?
wings behave as a melee weapon. Any contact made by these spikes would potentially wound any Titan that flies too close to these. Its talons are also similar to Rodan's, allowing him to grip tight into an enemy as heavy as Kong. And
Dang, he
proceed
picked
to
up Kong
lift him
like
up.
that, too.
So, apart from being dangerous, Camazotz also possesses an incredible amount of strength. But this doesn't
He's got
end
that grip
here.
strength.
Continuing on to the posterior area of this Titan, we find this, a long, spiked tail. Earlier on, we discussed that this weapon
That's
was
true, I
used
forgot
for
about the tail.
maneuverability, but it can also be used as a whip of sorts. This prehensile tool is able to quickly grab an
That's
opponent's
cheating,
limbs,
bro.
neck, or weapons and turn their strength into a weakness. Not to
Imagine
mention
getting
that
choked out
Camazotz
by
will
a
deploy
spiky
this
tail.
weapon when the opponent least expects it. Since Rodan won't know this tail is prehensile until it's used against
Ooh.
him. In this category,
That
the
looks rough.
Vampire Titan's larger array of close-ranged weapons
But he's got
and
that
the
armor.
deceptive use of this tail will give Titanus Camazotz a critical edge in auxiliary
Dang.
weapons.
So what is it?
Like
Is it
effectiveness?
4-4
Moving
right
up
now?
to these Titans' heads, we find that they differ greatly in
Did he
anatomy
come back that
and
fast?
in the way they are used in combat.
It might be tied up.
Immediately, we notice that Rodan
I don't
does
remember.
not have any teeth, but rather serrated edges, which aid in the cutting of Titan
Hmm.
flesh. But in order for flesh to make it to this posterior part
Watch
of the
your
mouth,
jet, man.
the meat needs to get ripped first. How? Well, it just so happens that Rodan's beak is very similar to that of modern birds of prey. Instead of taking a bite, these animals raise their heads
Oh my-
and violently peck down, leveraging these sharp tips which pierce the victim. Once enough meat is caught in this hook, they rip upwards. Rodan uses similar maneuvers when it comes to attacking, pecking violently at Ghidorah's chest, or this futile
I'm
attempt
gonna
at
blur that.
decapitating Mothra.
Just in case
This
anybody's
pecking
eating
maneuver
out there, you're
allows all
welcome.
the
If you
impact
want to
force
see
be
that, I guess you can go to the
concentrated
video,
here,
but
which will
like,
help in
I'm gonna blur
piercing
that
hard,
for you.
flat surface areas.
You're welcome.
Camazotz's
I just
jaws are
lost my
equipped
whole
with a few,
appetite.
but
I'm not
deadly
good with stuff
long,
like
sharp
that.
teeth. But apart from that,
You
we
are
must
welcome.
notice that this squared wide jaw possessed by this kaiju hints that
It was
this
an eagle
bite
eating
is
a snake,
really
okay?
strong.
That's all you need to
Combine
know.
all of this with force and exert it on these few sharp
What
teeth,
the world?
and we have some serious piercing power. This gets more lethal by the simple fact that Camazotz can open its
Oh,
mouth
that's
pretty
RIP
wide,
for him. That's
meaning
over
that
with.
it can in fact take out a huge chunk of flesh. Sharp, pointy teeth and a spear-like beak are both more than enough to pierce through armor, but both of these titans are equipped with some sort of defense against these strong
Rodan!
bites. On one end,
I just keep
Rodan's
picking Rodan.
volcanic anatomy may come in handy once again, once the exposed gums of
Ooh,
Camazotz
and if
make
he bites
contact
him,
with his fiery
that should, like,
flesh,
melt his
still
teeth or something.
potentially piercing, but not for long. Rodan, on the other end, may end up trying to bite through this thick fur. As mentioned already, this thick fur may serve as a sort of cushion, slowing down a rapidly approaching sharp beak and mitigating its damage. Camazotz does have other vulnerable areas around its body, such as the chest, which is covered by this armor, but targeting these areas
The
would
chest
force
is
Rodan to
literally
be
just
in a
his rib
vulnerable
cage.
position. Although both of these methods
You break a
differ
rib, you're in.
methodology, both are effective against their respective opponents if used correctly, and both methods are similarly deterred. Settling this
Is that
as
another tie?
draw for bite effectiveness.
Let me count this. 1, 2,
Special
3,
abilities.
4, 5, 1,
Both
2,
of these
3.
titans will unleash forces that will literally make the
I think it's
battleground
tied right now.
tremble. It is said
This
that
is the
Rodan's
last one to see who
biology
actually
triggers a
wins.
phenomenon known as volcanoagrikinesis,
Who?
meaning that as Rodan flies real close to volcanic formations, these would then erupt. Admittedly, any titan standing
That's kinda
close to a
crazy.
volcanic eruption will know better and to steer clear of the blast, but maybe they won't be able to avoid this, the thunderclap.
The thunderclap's
Now,
sick.
you will recall that Rodan is covered by a hardened layer of volcanic rock. Rodan uses this to hit his wings against each other, emitting an outrageously strong wave of high pressure
That move is
capable
so
of
fire.
destroying any smaller creatures flying nearby, and severely disorienting any titan that is standing or flying close by. This can manipulate the air currents that any other creature is traveling on, causing some pretty mad turbulence. Camazotz spits back with something of his own, the sonic screech. This
The
titan is
what?
capable of amplifying a loud scream using frequencies that not only disorient titans, but
Equipped
literally
Rodan
hurt their
with some
brains if
earplugs and he's
exposed long
fine.
enough, causing titans to retreat.
They
or
gave Kong a
become
glove,
stunned.
why not?
This scream is so powerful that it will be able to liquefy small animals, destroy buildings, and have similar
Dang.
effects of the thunderclap. But which of these is more lethal?
I would say
We'll have
thunderclap's
to
more
pay
lethal.
close attention to details. The damage inflicted by Rodan's thunderclap is short-lived compared to the continuous stream emitted by Camazotz.
Well, maybe
But one
Camazotz
indicator
is,
of the
because it's
strength
kind
of the
of...
shock is how these jets reacted to such impact. While Camazotz was able to
I
put
don't
these
know,
fighter
bro.
jets
This
out of
fight's gonna be
commission,
good.
They weren't necessarily destroyed like the ones close to Rodan, telling us that this shock was more lethal. Additionally, this stronger shock could be emitted repeatedly if Rodan wanted to. While Camazotz will be able to severely disorient Rodan with this screech, Rodan's thunderclap inflicts more initial damage. Not to mention that his presence alone causes alarming levels of turbulence around him. For this reason, Titanus Rodan will
Yes!
take the edge when it comes
1
to
point
special
ahead.
abilities.
So I
X
think it's
Factor.
5-4 right now with
Before
Rodan
we
in the
throw
lead.
these
I
two titans
believe.
to face
Maybe
each
even...
other,
I
there
don't
are a
know.
couple of things to note about
I don't even
their
know anymore. We're just gonna see who wins
As
the fight.
mentioned earlier, Rodan has an issue when it comes to making what we would consider wise decisions.
Which I think is coming up
putting
after this
himself at
discussion.
risk repeatedly without thinking of the instant repercussions. This temperamental titan will once again be at risk of making a decision that could cost it its life. Camazotz, on the other hand, is a titan who is known to fight dirty, resorting to maneuvers and weapons that are not initially visible to the opponent, making him look a bit vulnerable at first, but against a titan who tends to underestimate his enemies and wastes no time to attack, a reserved approach to combat could also cost it its life. In this particular scenario, and for the sake of fairness, Camazotz will not be provided with his army of smaller minions. This
Yeah,
will
that's
in
some
turn
cheese.
allow
Don't be
Camazotz
giving
to
him an
focus
army.
fully on his opponent, even though during
That's
combat
crazy.
he proves to be a pretty good multitasker. Today, Rodan will only worry about Camazotz.
That's a bet.
Which, frankly, is enough trouble already. It is now time to determine which of these titans
game
will
time.
win in a
Who
fight
wins?
to the death. Rodan,
Are
with
you
its
Team
incredibly
Rodan or
wide
Team
build
Cam?
and strong character, wins the edge in resistance, speed, stamina, and special abilities.
So he's got 4.
Camazotz, the Vampire Titan, wins 3 important edges in terrain,
4 to 3.
intelligence, and melee
I know they
weaponry.
tied in a few. That's why I was
Both of
saying,
these
like,
titans
whatever.
are equal when it comes to maneuverability and bite effectiveness. This fight will take place in the
So it's
deep cavernous
technically like
pockets
6
leading
to
into
5.
the Hollow Earth. In this scenario, Rodan is attracted to the volcanic-rich terrain found below, but in order to get to it, he must fly through Camazotz territory. For better visibility for your viewing, the light in this rather dark environment suitable for Camazotz will be adjusted for an improved spectator experience.
Got you. So it is
now
dark.
Time to fire this simulation.
Let's get it.
The combatants are ready. Coming up, Titanus Camazotz versus Titanus Rodan.
The following simulates an encounter between Titanus Camazotz and Titanus Rodan. Given the temporal nature of both titans, an encounter will likely result in the death of one combatant. Harvard education reading. I'm just gonna go ahead and watch this. Let's get it. We've been waiting for this one, big fella. Don't be jump scaring me now. Oh, look at those teeth. Game time. Adjusting exposure. So it's normally, it is dark down here, but they increased the exposure so we could see. Nice fellas. That's terrifying. That is not what I would like to see popping out of there. Let's go, Rodan. Rodan is faster, so technically he could just keep flying, but Rodan's no chump. He's gonna fight. Reggie! Okay, so Camazotz with the first hit draws first blood. Let's see how Rodan responds. Both on the ground. Interesting. Yeah, he said, all right, we're taking this to the sky. Already know I'm faster. Where's he going? Why'd he go back? Oh, he basically just bullied him out of the area. Okay. Rodan's like, nah, I can't let you bully me and then go back home. It's just not happening. Rodan, I told you, Rodan's no chump. He's gonna fight. Let's go, Rodan. Bit him, but it's gotta hurt his teeth. It probably hurt both of them. I don't really think anybody's in the lead right now as far as the moves that we've seen. Okay, thunderclap. Got him disoriented a little bit. Oh, he hit the screech on him. Dang. Okay, that did the most damage we've seen so far. Okay, I see you. See you, Mr. Rodan, taking a beating at the moment. You need a hyper. Oh, here we go with that tail, bro. Dang. Hey, yo, Rodan is kind of getting demolished. There we go. I thought he was dead. I think he passed out for a minute. That's a terrifying creature for sure. Uh-oh. Head to head. Who wins, Rodan or Camazotz? Let's see. He already lost one of his horns. Might as well lose the other one too, you know. 360. Ooh, took off a wing. Rodan's like that. He's like that, I tell you. Straight to the ground with it. Did my boy Rodan just win? Let me hear a victory roar one time for the one. Yes, sir! Who picked Team Rodan out there? Let me know in the comments. Don't you lie to me either. Don't be switching up now. Team Rodan, let's go!
As seen in this battle simulation, it is none other than Titanus
That's
Rodan
right.
who managed to survive this fight. After taking a look at
Let's
the battle
go.
results, we find that flying speed and durability were the determining attributes that granted Rodan victory in this face-off.
I like that little battle
During
animation.
This, both Titans were able
That
to
was
inflict
nice.
damage to each other. Camazotz, however, was the one inflicting more hits because of his higher number of weapons at his disposal, except Rodan was able to live through all of this.
Yeah,
because of
Rodan
its
had
endurance and
higher
armor.
damage of his
And even
attacks
going
too.
as far as injuring Camazotz thanks to its biovolcanic nature. But the most important attribute here was speed. A literal flying volcano traveling at twice the
literal
speed of
flying
sound
volcano.
would inflict nothing
I
other
said
than
that
a
earlier.
fatal impact using the tips of these weapons. Additionally, it was his streamlined shape that allowed it to cut through any resistance emitted by Camazotz's screech. This was in fact a very difficult fight for Rodan, but in the end it was the fire demon who
Rodan
prevailed.
is the
It
king.
will take something special to
At
defeat
least
the
for today.
flying magma beast.
What a beast. And like I said, at least for today. I like that first little battle face off there. Big shout out to Goji Center. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you for watching with me. I love ya. Goodbye.